Welcome to the Wildverse podcast, where we introduce you to the wild world of taxidermy, a place where artists and hunters collide. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Heather.
Today's episode is going to be all about what goes into creating those beautiful and realistic scenes in some of those big trophy rooms that you see around the country. We will be talking with one of the masters of the trophy room world and hear about some of his favorite designs he's been a part of.
Yes, and he told me that it's really just a lot of construction and then you just throw a little bit of dirt on top of it, but I know it's much more than just that. So we would like to welcome Mr. Randy Mitchell from Wild Rooms in Michigan. How are you today, Randy?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. We're glad to have you on here. I'm excited to hear about some of your creations. I know you've done some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we've had a few interesting jobs, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what we want to kind of start out with is, can you tell us how you ever got into like the business of building these big trophy rooms for customers?
I was I was working for another company at the time, and they needed a fill-in. So, and I was building habitats for them at the time. They needed an extra guy on site. So I went on site and started building them. Then I ended up being on every one of them.
Oh, okay. So how did you ever even get into wanting to do habitat building jobs? Like, did you do taxidermy in the past? Did you just strictly start at habitat?
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that I'm a fine graduate of the Northwest School of Taxidermy that you can get for
Ah,
$9.95 in the back of a sportsman's catalog.
yep, I've heard of those.
Yep, when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
So on and off, classes were fun. I mean, they're old style. They're the old books are hand drawn and everything. My first 10 birds looked like somebody had taken a chicken and shoved a softball inside of them. They were just and then peeled all the feathers off. Um, but that's where I learned to do it. Learned to wrap bodies. Learned to wrap deer forms, Excelsior deer forms. Uh,
Okay.
then paper forms were the big thing at the time. They just started making hollow paper forms.
Mm-hmm.
So then you didn't have to wrap them Excelsior anymore. Then a few years later came out the urethane forms that looked just like the paper forms. So there was, I mean, basically it's a block of foam with a nose and two indents where the eyes are supposed to be. And you had to build everything after that yourself. But it was still better than wrapping them, you know,
Yeah.
on and on. But yeah, over the years, since I was 12 years old, yeah, I've been in and out of the taxidermy business quite a bit.
Wow. Yeah, I guess so, because that would be you kind of went through a lot of the phases of beginning, like how you guys had a lot of work back then, and now we have it pretty easy.
Yeah, you had a lot more work wrapping bodies and then using the paper forms. I hear about those once in a while, and they seem like just so, I don't know, like maybe difficult to work on, but maybe not so much. But it does seem like we have it a lot easier now.
I can tell you this because I've seen both of your work. And if the two of you, were to ever get a paper form and a few ounces of clay, I know you'd turn out one of the best looking deers.
Oh,
Oh,
thanks.
thanks. Yeah.
Those paper forms, I mean, they required as much. There was no detail in them at all, and they required as much alteration, almost as much as what modern forms require.
Really, huh?
Yep. You still have to do your clay work around the eyes. You still had to put in your head blocks. If you wanted to alter it, that was a no-go because they were hollow.
Yeah.
There's no cutting them and putting them back together.
Was it like paper mache?
Yes, it was. Think of
Okay.
this. Think of this. Brown wrapping paper, like old-fashioned the paper that you'd get for grocery bags, cut into strips, soaked in a some type of really hard adhesive, and then they'd wrap that into a mold. They'd push it down into a mold and pack it in by hand. When it dried, they'd pop the mold apart and then coat them with a coat of shellac. Paint on a coat of shellac, cut a board and stick in the back and nail it all the way around and ship it.
Wow, that is so fascinating. I did not know how they were made.
Yeah, I've I've tore in our museum work that we do, museum pieces where we do cleaning and restoration of old museum stuff. I've come into that and the predecessor to that, Excelsior, and then predecessor to that. We've worked on pieces that were mounted in the late 1800s that
Wow.
don't even resemble anything that we do today.
Hmm.
Oh, that must be cool to see how they put stuff together back then.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, no, that would be as a lot of work. I know I've seen pictures of. We talked about it, Ashley, in one of our episodes about the guy that. Oh my gosh, I think it was one of our trivia episodes, and we ended up posting pictures on social media of he mounted a bison, and the form underneath the bison was like it was all wood,
Yeah.
and then like these framings put into it, and it was a museum bison, but it was really impressive.
Yes. So I know how much you guys like fish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not much.
So, I mean, if you know the process of how fish are done with the hand carved body style, think of that. You can take a North American bison laying on its side on a big sheet of paper, trace the outline of the carcass, you know, straight down with a marker or pencil. Take the carcass off, lay that on a sheet of plywood, cut the plywood out, and there's your body. That's your center board. And then your legs, all your bones have to be cleaned and wired and attached to that center board. And then you start wrapping Excelsior. You
Wow.
build it up with Excelsior, and I've seen some of these old mannequins. They would wrap individual muscles and then lay them into the mannequin and then wrap them in.
Oh, that's pretty neat, actually.
It's just amazing.
And you get people complaining nowadays when there's like an air bubble in the mannequins. So it's like, wow, we have it so
Yeah.
easy in that regard.
I tore ears apart and had to repair ears that were made out of the liners were made out of sheet lead.
Yes,
Um,
I've seen those. I've done a couple of those repairs. I was like,
yep,
"What is this?" And it was metal lead. Yeah.
yep.
Oh, I have
And then
not seen
there's
that.
yeah, and another real common one in the 50s, 60s was you, I don't know if you've ever heard of anybody ever talk about mule hide.
I don't think so. No.
I'm not sure.
It's not mule hide. It's 30-pound tar paper. So
Oh.
today you go and roof your home. Somebody roofs your house. They put tar paper down. Well, today it's 15-pound tar paper. It's supposed to be 15 pounds per 100 square feet or something like that. Well, they use 30-pound tar paper. And I've seen tar paper used for ear liners. I've seen small mammals, which I know you guys are great at. Small mammals, I've seen old mounts from the 50s and 60s. They used toothpaste tubes. Toothpaste tubes were made out of aluminum alloy,
Yeah.
very soft and very pliable, yet very stiff and rigid.
Hmm.
So you'd take a toothpaste tube, cut it open, um, clean it up, and then cut your ear liners out of it and slide your ear liners in.
Might have to try that one. That
Yeah,
one
that might
seems,
still work.
yeah, a
It
little
does
more
still
easy
work.
to try than making a whole bison mannequin out of Excelsior and all that stuff.
Yeah, that might be biting off a little more than we can
Yeah.
chew on.
Oh,
Go
that's so
smaller.
cool. How fascinating that, like,
Yeah.
just people were so creative before, like, we had such accessible products.
Yeah, and I also get a kick out of, I just, one of the things that the little guy in the back of my head chuckles about once in a while. When I started doing taxidermy, you went to the catalog, and a lot of people will understand this, but you went to the catalog, you pulled the order sheet out, and you wrote down everything on the order sheet that you wanted. And you calculated because everything had the weight listed next to the price. So you wrote down the price, you wrote down the weight, you added both columns together. Then you went to the back of the catalog. So many pounds in your region cost this much money. You put that all together with your order and a check, and you mailed it to them. It takes two weeks to clear the check. Then once the check's cleared, it takes 2 weeks to fill your order, and then it takes a week for them to ship it to you.
Yeah, so this on-demand thing, like we complain when we gotta wait a week, and
Oh
we
my
don't have to
gosh.
do all that.
I know you're making me feel like really really bad for ever having a complaint at all. So,
So the only thing I can say is, thank goodness for modern technology where we can just pick up a phone, call them, hey, put it on my card, hang up the phone,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
shows up in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, you can
yeah,
even like probably text someone, "Hey, reorder." Okay. It could be
Yep.
as simple as like a two-word transaction.
yeah. We have it good.
Yes. Yeah. It's come a long, long ways, and I think it's all been for the positive. The quality is, tremendously higher than what, even just 50 years ago was. It just, except for, you'll pick out the few pieces. I walked through a museum here a couple months ago, and elk caught my eye. And I turned and looked at the elk, and I asked the guy, he says, "You got records of who mounted that?" And he says, "Yeah, I think so." And I says, "Pull them up. It'll say Coleman Jonas on it." He's like, "You're kidding." He pulled it up, and sure enough, it was Jonas's. He
Oh,
says,
that
"How
is
did you know
cool.
that?" And I says, "Because I can spot a Jonas mount, half a mile away." They just had a style about them.
Yeah, yeah. So, saying about how things changed, I guess since we're kind of on that topic and your main business is habitat and stuff, how has that side of it changed? Like, how did it evolve through the years?
Yeah. So when I got started doing taxidermy as a kid, a good base. There really wasn't such a thing as habitat in commercial taxidermy work. It was literally, it was a piece of slab wood. So you'd mount a red fox or a bobcat. You put it on a piece of slab wood, stick the wires through, bend them over, shoot a staple in the bottom, hand it to the customer, and that was it. If they wanted it on the wall, then you put it on a log and did the same thing. There wasn't any really. A few people were doing it on bigger stuff, but the average normal person in a commercial shop, that was it. If the guy really wanted to blow some coin, then you might put it on an oak or a walnut plaque.
Wow.
That was the prime version. So, was the big habitat scenes and like, even stuff that we kind of do nowadays, was that mostly reserved for like museums that were doing it? Like they were kind of doing the diorama type scenes versus like it wasn't so common in the commercial setting? Like, was that the only people doing habitat stuff, like, to any degree?
Yeah, yeah, you're talking about in the museum scene, the
Yeah, okay.
would
Preparators.
preparators would create the dioramas,
Yeah.
and that word always just like gives me the heebies. Diorama. But anyways, they would create the dioramas in the sceneries, and some of famous ones. New York Museum of Natural History. There's one in Natural History Museum, I think, in Philadelphia. The Chicago Field Museum, of course, is a famous one. The Denver one. Um, some of those and of course Milwaukee, where Wendy Christensen worked. Yeah, Wendy. Where Wendy worked, she's the lady that did the recreation of Samson.
Yeah, the ape, isn't that?
Yes, silverback gorilla that died like 30 years earlier or something, or 30 years earlier. She went to Mount Samson, and from what little I know about it, the skin was not suitable to tan, so she made a recreation of him,
Oh, wow.
and including casting all the bones. So there's a artificial skeleton inside that gorilla.
Oh.
Was there a reason to do it that way? Like she just wanted
Yes,
to make sure it was exactly
exact,
perfect?
exact,
Wow.
right down to the hairs on his head.
Wow.
Exact, yeah. But that's the difference. That's kind of like that goes far out and beyond taxidermy to being a preparator. Is she wasn't under a timeline. She had that was her day-to-day job. I believe they set up a deal for her at the museum where she actually worked behind an observation glass where people could actually come in and see her, because there was people coming in as adults with their children that had seen that gorilla when they were little kids. So they
Oh,
were just blown away that they were like really excited that that was coming through.
huh.
So and then they do at your museum stuff. I've seen all kinds. When they're behind glass, which is the best way to do a museum. I've seen powdered soap used for snow.
Hmm.
I've seen asbestos, bags
Oh.
and bags of
Oh,
asbestos
Oh,
used
that
for
no.
sucks.
snow. Um, I've seen, I've heard. not seen, but I've heard of one where a friend of mine got into, and he swore it was powdered arsenic that they had used for a snow scene,
Oh my, that's not good.
but it's all behind glass.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
guess
you
there were
gotta,
no mice or anything we're gonna get to
oh yeah, nothing's
it.
gonna live through that.
Oh, so that would make your job as somebody who restores this stuff, like, you really need to be careful sometimes when you're
Really,
going into these scenes, and
yeah.
if they're super old, you kinda need to be careful. Like, how would you approach that?
So the first thing you do when you're doing a museum, when you're doing a cleaning and restoration, or cleaning a diorama or redoing a diorama, first thing you do is gloves, safety glasses, um, breathing apparatus with chemical filters, and test strips. You go in and you go into the scenery and you poke the bear, see what turns up, and hopefully nothing nasty turns up. You can, you go as far as Tyvek suits and Tyvek booties and everything. So, because if there's something in there, then and it's a hazmat issue. Then you gotta, when you come out, you get bagged, and everything's got to come off and stay in the bag to trap, contaminants and stuff, and then you take it from there. You find out what you're dealing with, and then you work from there. Fortunately, I've worked with arsenic a lot. It's not a big deal. Um, I guess the big key thing with arsenic is don't snort it, don't lick it.
Okay.
If you remember that, you can work with arsenic, and it's not that difficult
Oh, like, you can work it with your hands, but not ingest it in any way?
with gloves,
With gloves,
right?
okay.
With gloves, and if I know a piece has arsenic, I'll wear my mask. But just be smart about it. You don't hit it with an air compressor.
Could
Yeah,
be
so it's
bad news.
Yeah, that could be a
dust
bad day.
flies everywhere.
You'll have a whole shop to clean.
Oh,
But yeah, a lot of times you put them inside of like a big box that's got open front, and you hook up. I have a vacuum cleaner that hooks to the back of it. You turn the vac on, so it's a constant airflow going into the box. And then as you're working on your piece and cleaning it, restoring it, cleaning the feathers and preening it and steaming, anything that comes off that animal will go into hopefully goes into the vacuum and doesn't come your way.
that makes sense. Wow.
Very, very little um, pieces that I've come across that were really issues. You get
Hmm.
the normal stuff, and then you get, I would say somebody that overdid it or didn't know what they were doing and did something, and it can be pretty rough.
So you don't run into too many problems in that regard?
Nope, not
No.
really.
Um, well, maybe we can jump back. So you build these big scenes, right? These big,
Hmm.
trophy room type scenes. I can't imagine it must be easy to build scenes for animals that are already mounted, like in different poses. Like you have to kind of pre-fit stuff, or how would you kind of go about that?
The easiest way I can explain it is you got your group of animals. They've already been mounted. They've already got their poses. None of them make sense. They all make sense individually because that most of them we're pulling off of bases,
Okay.
so they don't make sense together. But if you start turning them, tweaking them, and the neat thing about building the trophy rooms is you got that third element of elevation. So I could put two bongos side by side, literally almost touching each other, but I can have one of them 20 inches higher than the other one. Standing
Okay.
on a riverbank or something. Now all of a sudden I can put two bongos in a spot where you normally would only get one because I can use that elevation to my advantage, and then you can do little tricks that the habitat has a way of there's a way that you can tweak the habitat to cover certain issues. So I can take a mount that was mounted flat, you know, and we're going to put that mount now. We're going to take it off the floor and we're going to put it 15 feet in the air on the side of a mountain. Well, I don't want him staring at the ceiling across the room, So we tweak the rear ends. We'll raise the rear ends. We'll tweak the front end and lower it or adjust it. We can tilt the animal so he's not even straight up and down. And when you're standing on the floor looking at it, you would never know.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess like we think it's gonna look crooked, but
Yeah.
when it's up that high, you can't really
Yep.
see, I guess. Huh, that's smart.
So then you cover the ankles and maybe one of the hindquarters with some brush. You put a little bit of grass down along the front legs. Is it straight? Is nobody look? I mean, they look at the face and it's beautiful and it looks right at you and we're good. And you'd never know.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy though. Like I'm sure it's a little more than just, oh, just tilt it up or down. I'm sure you kind of, calculate it a little bit and look at it artistically like, yeah, that looks good, I'm sure there maybe is a little more that goes into it, but it sounds fairly simple the way you explain it.
Well, I have a particular animal that I'll show you here in a little while that is exactly what I just described. He was mounted straight, standing on the floor straight. And he's now, what level? He's on the 14-foot ledge. So he's 14 feet in the air looking right at you,
Hmm.
coming down the side of the mountain.
Oh yeah, I'm curious to see that one. So yeah, we'll have to share that one.
I'm trying to figure out how this works.
Well, because um, I, the way you're describing it, so these animals were already mounted on bases. Like they were
Yes.
probably mounted, right? Then somebody had them. They had one or two or three or five, and then they're now wanting to put them all together in a big display. Is that right?
Right. What typically happens is the guy, the hunter, I shouldn't say guy because we do a lot of work for ladies too. The hunter has been shooting, they've been collecting over the years, they've had maybe some of it was mounted overseas. Maybe, there's some people that will use the same taxidermist no matter what. No, it doesn't matter. I don't care where I shot it, ship it to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that are the opposite. I don't care where I shot it, drop it off to whoever's the closest.
Yeah, I know people like that.
And there's all kinds of people in between. So, be that as it may, I mean, what we do, I get to see the work of hundreds of taxidermists from all over the world. And some of this stuff is a little sketchy, and some of it is absolutely fabulous. And so it's really neat. We take the sketchy stuff and we'll incorporate it into thicker sceneries.
Put it up real high or something.
A little bit further away from the eye.
Okay.
Everything at a distance looks good. You take the really good stuff and you bring it up close, floor level in your face. And people will look at the one in their face, and in their mind, they believe that everything else on that mountain looks just like it.
It's very clever.
Yeah. It makes sense when you say it. Yeah, it makes sense when you put it that way, but, to a person just looking at the mountain of animals, they're not going through that whole process in their head. Like, I bet they put the other ones up there that aren't as good as this one. Like, no, they're like, wow, this one's great. This is great.
Right. And if you study, just not really study, but just do a little bit of reading on things like color psychology, impression, um, attention span is huge. Taxidermists don't realize the way that they can control the person who looks at their piece. You can literally control what they're looking at, when they're going to look at it, and how long they're going to stand there and stare at it just by using shape and color. It's absolutely amazing.
That is cool. I'd probably like to learn more about that. If there was a way to like, learn more about that altogether, that would be really neat.
Well, I know you two are excellent competitors, and those little tips really will help you in a competition room. Because when the judge walks by, typically the judges will go through and they'll say bang, 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 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then they'll go hit the threes, they hit the twos a little bit longer, then they go back and hit the ones, and they really start studying. You want your piece to be a one.
Yeah. I've always heard that, that you kind of, and I do the same thing when I walk into a competition room. You see the ones that you want to look at.
Yeah, they draw
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, here, what was it, a couple years ago, I had this piece that really sucked me in. It was really cool. I mean, absolutely just one of the neatest things. And what really sucked me in was these blazing bright orange and red oak leaves that were twisted up on some little silver tree or something. Had flying
Yeah,
squirrels
Yeah.
I
busting out of
figured
it.
that's where you were going.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
see?
yeah, my little flying squirrel. Yeah, that I put a lot of thought. It was a little tiny piece, and I know, like, so I've been inspired when I talked to you back at like the Pennsylvania show. I think it was, man, probably like 2015 or 14 or something like that. And you really inspired me to up my habitat game. So, you were actually kind of a little inspiration for that piece in a way. Because you do, like, you kind of put into our heads more about, like, all that stuff you just said about the colors and the shapes. And,
Attention
um,
span. Yeah.
yeah, like, where did you learn all of that stuff? Did you go to any kind of art school? Did you just do your own research?
No, actually, I never went to an art school, never studied art in high school. Uh, my sketching, if I sketch something out, it's stick figures. Um, I'm not a drawer,
Yeah, yeah. But you've
but
you've
I see it
learned
in
this
my mind.
stuff.
I can
Okay.
see it in my head, and I know what it looks like in my head. So then all I got to do is just do everything with my hands so that it matches what I'm looking at in my head, which creates another problem because my wife works with me, and sometimes she does looks at me like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
And you probably like trust your like instinct in a way, like when you see something that you're drawn to, like okay, there's a reason I'm drawn to that, like a
Yes.
look or something like that. So maybe just, I mean, and obviously you've been doing it a long time, so like kind of yes or no, what works, what doesn't. You have a lot
Yep.
of experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You look at things. You guys, you can look at stuff, and you subliminally in your head you go, "Oh, that's really cool," and you look at it for a few minutes and walk off. So here, try this exercise. When you spot something that really just draws you in and say, "Oh man, that looks really cool," look at it for a half hour and start breaking it down piece by piece in little grids and squares and look at the shape and look at the colors. Where are the colors? Why did that thing draw you in? And narrow it right down really tight why it drawed you in and why it really is impressing you. And it changes a lot about how you'll start looking at your own pieces.
That's great advice too, just to because I thought you were gonna say, um, when you see a piece that draws you in, think about why, but no, then you said look at it for 30 minutes and then break it down. Like that's really good advice. So I'm gonna think about that one.
I know you said about colors, and this isn't saying anything, bad about this piece if this person's listening. But I saw a piece on Facebook the other day, and they did a really great job. And it was like an ocean scene with some eiders and stuff, but they put this reproduction king crab in it.
Uh,
And this thing is just so big and red that I didn't all I saw was a big red crab. I didn't see
yep.
the pretty ducks and the water and the rocks because that red was just, that's all you saw.
So in my one of my seminars I do is got to be one of the most boring seminars you'll ever attend. I can put you to sleep in 5 minutes. And in fact, I pretty much fall asleep in myself in the seminar. But the seminar deals with shape, composition, design, color psychology, and we don't actually make a habitat. And most people just want to, how do you make the habitat? Just show me the habitat. So, and this one is not that. This is how to think through your habitat before you start building it. And start building the thing in your mind or on a sheet of paper. I'm going to put red here. I'm going to put green here. I'm going to put. So one of the things that you'll find is red. If you look up red on the color chart, red is an incredibly aggressive and attention-grabbing color. So even though the crab probably was similar to that color in nature, I mean, I don't know, king crab's a little more duller orange or something, but with white bellies or off white bellies, something like that. Um, that color, I, I would have changed that out for something smaller, even though it's cool. But in a competition, I would have changed that out for something smaller and an off color, more of an off color. They could have put sea urchins in there, which some of the sea urchins are black, some of them are deep purple. They get some of the sea urchins. There's another species that kind of a green with a white stripe through them, things like that. So you can fill that void with something else. You could put fan coral in, or um, geez, I don't know. There's so many things. The ocean is incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
We did a big ocean scene, and we put 300 species, non-fish species,
Holy
in
smokes.
this scenery, non-fish, and then we added the fish to it. But I would have put something else in there that would capture my intrigue, but not necessarily suck my eye into it. So, and it's fun to experiment. I mean, picture in your mind your squirrel piece. Picture in your mind that exact same piece. Got it pictured in your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Take the leaves and turn them green.
Oh, it would have been a
Yeah, I don't
totally
know.
different feel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it would drop the whole feeling. So
Yeah,
then you
it's
take the
definitely,
leaves. Well, what would they look like if they were brown? Then it would clash with the squirrel.
yeah, it
So
matches
then, yeah.
squirrelish.
So
Yeah.
you can do stuff like that in your head, and it you can hit the right colors.
Well, that makes sense where you say color theory, like, and then the red kind of equals aggressiveness because they say that red cars are pulled over like way more than other types of cars because it ignites something in like a law enforcement's mind, like kind of an anger emotion,
Hmm.
right? So just stuff like that, right? And then they say like green is calming or nature, and um, yeah, there's all
Right.
kinds of theories, and I guess I never thought about that to tie into taxidermy because
Hmm.
we're thinking about nature and stuff all the time. Like we're trying to use natural looking type stuff and matching it to the environment. But yeah, you're right. Where you could use like pop of color versus maybe a flower or like you're saying sea urchins, stuff like that. That's super fascinating.
Yeah, it's you just use your base colors. Nature will provide you with all the colors you need. You don't have to make anything up. You just have to put the pieces in the positions to cause you, because once you start getting into that, you start getting into you've picked your shape, then you go into your composition. Well, your composition, where's my focus? Where's my tension? I got to have tension to draw my focus, and then I need compression to where everything comes together. And then I've got to put my colors in there so that I get the person to look at here, then I want them to look here, then I want them to look here, and then I want them to be sucked right back to where they started again. And you figure that out, and it's not hard to figure out. You just have to sit and start thinking about it yourself. I know what I wanted when I started this bobcat, but now that I've got it done, it looks boring. Now, how can I draw that judge's attention on that bobcat? I need to suck that guy in. If I can't hold him for 3 seconds, I'm out.
Yeah,
You got a three
agreed.
second attention span. You guys have walked through the competition room before. There's pieces that you've looked at for 3 seconds and walked on.
Like for example, Heather, that Fox piece that you said at the Pennsylvania show, like you liked it, so you obviously looked at it, and then you noticed there was a feather. Like it was had a feather either looking at it or like
Yeah.
somewhere
He
in there,
used
right?
really, really nice, everything curved and went together. And then, like, the things were so subtle that then once you saw it, I don't know, people get excited when they see things, like when they're like, ooh, I bet other people didn't notice
Yeah,
that.
like little subtle things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had
Oh,
sent you a couple pictures when you contacted me, Heather. Did
yes.
did I send you one with a couple of gray fox on it?
I'm not sure if I saw that one. I'm not sure. I'll make a note of that because we do like to try to like make some notes so when the episode's over and Ashley goes to editing, we remember to put like certain things in.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to pull that up. But
So those two gray fox, one's a carcass cast, and the other one is a wrapped body because I wanted to test my hand at both models. And Um, both of them are modeled after my little dog that you just saw,
Oh, really?
because when he likes to play, and one of his plays is he has something in his mouth and you go to grab it, he'll snitch his head back and he'll look at you kind of out of the corner of his eye. He's teasing you. You
Hmm.
look at those two fox in the face, and that's what they're doing.
Okay.
They're playing with a partridge feather. Now, I took that to a competition when I'd made it, set it there, and then I like to stand back, across the room somewhere and just watch the people. And there was a lot of times where I could stand there, I couldn't even see my piece because people were just standing there. I'm like, what are they looking at? What are they looking at that's drawing them in that I've done something. Now, what is it? And I need to know what it is so I can duplicate it. So that's a great thing, a tool, because that anything that you learn in competition, there's no way that that will not bleed over into your commercial work. It only makes your commercial work better.
And so I guess, like the piece you're talking about with the foxes, like it naturally poses the question or poses a question, I guess. So then it makes people eager to answer the question. I guess maybe that's a good angle is like have a piece that makes you like have a question that needs answered. And in that case, it was, what are they looking at? Like,
Yeah,
I need to investigate this piece a little more, and then it keeps a person there. And
yeah, exactly.
this episode of Wildverse is sponsored by Pro One Performance Chemicals. Pro One specializes in tanning chemicals for the professional taxidermist. They offer a complete line of tanning products to provide you with everything you need to tan your next tide. I really like their ProMax tan for my personal tanning projects. They make it so simple, it's easy to follow instructions printed right on the bottle. I actually used Pro One to tan the deer that I won with at Nationals, and I was using this same tan to tan some bobcats last week. It's super versatile. Not only does Pro One have you covered for all your tanning needs, they also sell Pro One Hide Paste, the industry standard in glue. Heather and I both use Pro One Hide Paste on every single mount. We love it. It has a thick consistency that makes it easy to apply to the form, yet it's soft and pliable enough that it can be easily manipulated under the skin after you throw the hide on. If you haven't tried Pro One Hide Paste, I am telling you, you are missing out. And now, as of 2024, you can order Pro One products directly online at pro1performancechemicals.com. That's PRO, the number one, performancechemicals.com.
So I guess kind of we for some reason we just go down the rabbit hole, but it's fun, so we just keep
Yeah.
going. So uh, getting back to kind of these big scenes and stuff that you make, where do you start? Like people give you the animals that they want to work with, and like you said, you kind of group them together and come up with some of a plan of how to put them. But how do you start constructing these mountains and African scenes and such?
Well, the the interesting part of the answer is that the people will tell you, not knowingly. You just have to sit down and have a conversation with them. You might sit down with them. One of the first things I do is I find out what their niche is. Are they a beer drinker, a wine drinker? They like a cigar. They like a certain scotch or something. We go to their place. We do all the contact stuff. Take your measurements. Where's your problem areas? Your HVAC units, your cold air returns are in the way. You got, 6 plugs in the wall that's got to be gone somewhere because they have to be accessible. Local building codes have to be looked at. Certain things you can't cover up, or they have to be at least accessible in an emergency. There's just all the unfun stuff has to be done first. Now, once we've got the items that are non-negotiable, let's say, this is the area we're using, this is how high it's going to be, wide, how deep we're going to go, and here's how many animals I've got. I got, 17 medium animals. They have got 10 big animals, and they got 6 more years of hunting booked.
Okay.
So I'm looking at, all right, so we're looking at another 40 animals, 30, 40 animals coming in. All right, so we mark all that down. Now we just sit down and have a conversation. What was it like in Alaska when you were up there? I bet it was cold, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, geez, my sheep hunt was awful. Everybody that has ever hunted sheep will tell you their Dall sheep was the worst.
I just
Dall
had a
sheep was the
customer like
hardest hunt.
that.
It
Yeah.
just some of the stories I've heard of these guys hunting Dall sheep, I'm like, you guys are nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, the
But
guy I know looked half starved by the time he got his sheep.
yes, yes, I did some work for a fella that his first Dall sheep hunt, they were flying to the camp. They spotted 3 Dall sheep on the side of a mountain, and one was a shooter. And his pilot says, "You want to go after that one?" He's like, "We can do that." He says, "Yeah." He says, "We can do that." There's no place to land because he's on a float plane. So they landed the float plane on a glacier on the other side of a peak. And they staked the plane, the guy's holding the plane in on the side of a glacier so the client could get out, get the ropes out, and drive stakes in the ground and tie them to the airplane so the airplane wouldn't fall off the slide down the glacier.
I don't want a sheep that bad. You can just.
No.
So they have to, of course, this was in Alaska. You can't shoot the day you fly. So they
Right.
had to wait
Oh.
until midnight. So they sleep in the plane. Midnight, they start climbing up this glacier, get up to the top of the rocks, get up over top of the rocks, come down the other side a little ways, and wait for daybreak. Daybreak rolls up, sheep are still there, shoots his sheep. They get it all packed up back to the airplane, and then they had to turn the plane around without losing it, point it downhill, and then get in it, cut the line, and jump in the plane and down the. I'm like,
Oh,
you really wanted that sheep, didn't you?
Yeah, no thanks.
man, well, made for a cool story anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made
So
it out alive.
so that guy's when we did his scenery, we put his sheep camp in the mural
Oh,
with
that's
an
cool.
airplane flying with an airplane flying. That was the actual airplane, the airplane he was in. So we put that plane in his mural.
Wow, that's
You
neat.
just listen to their stories. Just listen to them. They'll tell you everything you need to know about what they want without actually asking them, well, what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah, because if you ask them that, they're going to be like,
Yeah,
I don't know. You're the professional. You do what you
that's
want to do.
exactly the answer you get. Yeah,
Yeah.
do what you want.
Oh, I'm
Well,
sure you get that a lot.
that that's sometimes not a good thing with me.
No. I'm sure
Huh.
you have people too that, like, they maybe think they want something, but then, like, maybe they maybe that's what they think they want, right? But then actually when you talk to them, then they start talking about stories like that, and then you're like, "Well, actually, this might be more like what
Yes.
you'd appreciate," right?
Yep. And that's what I kind of term that as guiding. So they tell you what they want, then they start telling you a story. You make suggestions, and many times the suggestions end up being what you're going to do
Yeah.
because they like those suggestions better than there. There's 3 kinds of brains that I deal with. There's an artistic brain, which is not very good at business. There's a business brain, and these guys they can turn money inside, outside, and upside down, but they couldn't draw a stick figure to save their life. They have no artistic ability. Couldn't even tell the difference between red and green. Then you've got the guys in the middle. They're a little bit of both. And they're the hardest ones to deal with
Yeah, because they think they know what they want, but they
Mm.
on
don't
both ends.
really. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And it's a lot more pleasurable to deal with the guys that have the business brain because they know exactly what they want. There's no nonsense about it. You make your suggestions. They like them or they don't, and they'll straight up tell you. And I'm the kind of person when I'm talking to these guys about this stuff, I throw everything on the table, everything, and then we start throwing stuff off the table that we know we don't want. It's a whole lot easier than just trying to suggest stuff to them. And and then you can be careful about what you throw on the table or you'll end up doing like live waterfalls in their house, trout streams running down through the house. um, we've done some ponds.
That'd be super cool, but I know working with water is a nightmare. So,
Super cool. Water has a mind of its own. It can get away from you very easily. You have to
Literally,
control
right?
not just where it goes, but you got to control the splashing because they don't
yes.
want to hear that water sound. But when you hear the water sound, it's splashing. So
Yeah.
you've got to hear the water sound, but don't let it splash all over, grandma's picture,
Mhm.
or whatever, on the floor, hardwood floors and or drywalled walls, and so you got to control that. Plus, then you've got to get with HVAC guys. You got to get them in there. We got to monitor it for so many days to find out, how much humidity is it putting into the room, and can the HVAC unit handle it? You got to think about stuff like that.
Man, I never thought.
I
Yeah.
know you're saying a lot of things that I just would not have thought about. So that's super
Well, then how do
fascinating.
you fill it? How do you drain it?
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
the
So yeah,
draining.
these are all things that have to be considered. And we've had guys have contractors come in. They'll cut holes in this concrete floor and put in water lines for us because they want that waterfall bad enough to do that. And when I build these waterfalls, they have auto drain. So if you get too much water in them, it automatically drains
Oh.
off. Then there's an emergency blowout, which is double the size that it needs to be all the time. You turn one valve, and I can drain 500 gallons in 5 minutes.
Well.
Yeah, it's crazy. I do autofill valves, so you never have to put water in. You never have to take water out. It always stays the same level, and it never gets gunky because we use a special electric filtering system that sterilizes the water. So you never have to put
Oh.
tablets in it. It never smells like chlorine. Yeah, they're set it and forget it type thing.
This
That's
this
awesome.
all is like so far out of my tax bracket that I'm like I've never even heard of this stuff.
You
So
you and me both.
Yeah.
uh,
So I guess that's a question. Do most people give you a budget?
um, I've never had a budget.
Okay, so they just say what they want, and then it costs what it costs for what they want,
Yeah,
and
yep.
that's
And
just
then
is what
all
it is.
this time I've done this, I've only ever had one guy say that, was there any way that we could knock that down a little bit? And I was like, what's a little bit? He gave
yeah.
me a number, and I went back to the drawing board, came back to him, and I said, yeah, we can do it, but you're going to lose a little bit of footage, and you're going to lose a little bit of plants. He was
Okay.
fine with it, no problem. Then he had us come back 2 years later and double it.
Oh, he had more money then.
Yeah.
Which is
Uh,
fine.
how fascinating. And then
Yeah.
side note, I guess what made me think of it. I guess probably windows have a big impact
Mhm.
on it too, right? If
Yes.
there's windows, if there's not windows, not just for heating, cooling, but literally sunlight, right? Like you obviously wouldn't want direct sunlight on these animals.
Right.
They could affect the whole habitat scene, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Sunlight can be a real bugger. We have one client, two clients. I got two clients that have big windows in their trophy rooms. One guy is his windows are 30. I think they're 30 feet tall, and they're only 30 inches wide, like tall strips. No blinds on them. The only thing that is really good is they face north. So there's no direct sunlight coming in on his room. The other guy has windows all the way around the top of his room. Um, they they put UV filters on them, and then they put shades on them. And then he asked me, he says, "You want me to just have the building contractor come back and board those up and drywall over them?"
yes.
Because he wanted to go taller with his mountain. We had to stop at 15 feet because he had windows all the way around. So that I told him that's up to you, whatever you want to do. Um, we have in the past we've taken painted murals on canvas, stretched it over plywood, put them over the windows with the mural facing out,
Oh,
screwed them to the windows, screwed them around the window, and then built the mountain right over top of it.
hmm. That's a clever way of doing it, I guess.
So when
That's
you're
pretty neat.
outside, you look in the window, it's a mountain scene or it's a whatever, whatever they wanted.
Yeah, you really got to solve a lot of problems
Yeah,
in your
a lot
job.
of times, you're building over top of registers and cold air returns. You have to reroute those through the sceneries. Um, the electric lines, plugins in the wall, you have to reroute those and bring them out to electrical outlets in the trim in the front of the sceneries.
And then I was gonna say, oh, lighting, I guess I'm sure is huge, right? You probably install so much more lighting than what this space already has, right?
So typically, what I do is I tell the customer, if you want lighting in your scenery, we can do it. It's all low voltage. All I need is one plug to plug into, and you want that plug, 110-volt plug. You want it to be controlled by a light switch somewhere. If they can control that one plug with a light switch, I can tap into that, and then we run low voltage. Because my dad was an electrician when I was a kid, and I just don't like grabbing live wires.
Yeah.
Here,
I don't
hang on to
blame you.
this. Pow!
Yeah. I know our shop has horrible like electrical like wiring and stuff, and you never know if the breaker you're shutting off like is the one that you're working on, and sometimes you get lazy and you don't check it, and it's the one kid that'll be working on everything. You'll be like, ah, jeez. You're like, yep, he got it.
Oh,
Yep, found it.
dang.
Yeah.
It's like electricity roulette or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you have really put together some awesome mountain scenes and African scenes. Are there any projects that really stick in your memory that you'd like to share? Like any maybe of your favorite ones or any challenging ones?
Um, they all have their own challenges in in their own ways. Some of the more challenging ones sometimes are not the nicest ones. We have one that was put in at a university, and it was a collective donation, a couple different collections. There's, oh my gosh, 480, 490, something like that pieces.
Wow.
And they had to put them in the amount of area that they had to use that we could put stuff in an 8-foot ceiling with giant eland, giraffes. We had to figure this all out. We had to put this stuff in, and the animals are almost touching each other. It is so compressed. It's my 25 pounds of mounts in a 5-pound room.
Wow. I bet on an 8-foot ceiling.
Yeah, it's very difficult. We've taken, you're going to love this. You get to some place, and this is part of the creative part of it, but it's incredibly challenging because there's no going back. There's a few things that I do that once you start them, there is no return. And I've taken sawzalls and cut alligators and crocodiles in half, like starting behind 1 foot, the one hind foot, and ending up coming out behind one of the front foots on the other side, cutting them at a diagonal. Then you spin them around, put them under a bank with some grass hanging over it, and it looks like two crocodiles under there. But you can
Oh.
shorten them up now so that they'll fit.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's where you said you can't go back. You can't just put that back together.
No.
No, a customer comes in and says, I don't like that. Put it back together. I say, no, no, wait a minute.
That that was permanent.
um, the I don't know. They all have their uniqueness. When I get done with them, my wife and I, one of our driving force end result things in this, and it has to be, there's no substitution for the answer, is do you like it? They have to like it. If they don't like it, we pull all of our equipment back out and start working again
Mm,
and
Yeah.
fix it or do whatever until they like it. So,
wow.
and these people, they just, when we're done, I mean, some of them, I've seen a lot of them, but there's some I think they're cool. They're just
Yeah.
really cool. We have one that we did here in northern Michigan. Nice trophy room. The guy had a 40 by 60 room with a 20-foot ceiling in his house, and he says, when I open the door, I don't want to see anything. I just want to see rocks, like at the door. So
Okay.
we actually made a rock tunnel
Mm.
to go, that you have to go in, you have to shut the door, and it's lit with old gas lanterns, the old kerosene lanterns. We
Oh,
switch them
that's
over to
cool.
electric,
Oh,
and,
neat.
and wire them in. So they got the little flickering light bulb in there. And it looks like an actual candle flickering. So we wired this tunnel with these old lanterns, and you go into his trophy room. It's this little compressed rock. You got to kind of work your way through it, and then it opens up, and you walk out of the mountain into his trophy room.
So it's not even like two people couldn't walk
No,
side by side. It's like a one person
it's one person.
like mine pretty much, like a mine shaft type of
Yeah,
deal.
exactly.
That's cool. And the
That is
lights don't
cool.
light up until you shut the door.
Right.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
So at the other end of his trophy room, same guy, we built an African mountain, and inside the African mountain is a cave with a tunnel, and he was going to use it for like taking his buddies in there and talking, chit chatting, talking, hunting and stuff. And well, the grandkids confiscated it for their camping room.
I don't blame them.
So it's a campgrounds inside of that mountain now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the other thing that was really cool, you talking about the lights made me think of it. You told me about that tree, and I'd like you to share that tree that you made that has the bats and stuff in it.
Oh, yeah. That was for another guy. It wasn't our job, but we worked on a tree, um, pretty big. It was, if I remember right, it was like 10 feet in diameter.
Jeez.
And the reason it was so big is because there's a spiral staircase inside of it.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like something out of
And
like a fairy tale or like
I
Lord of the Rings
know.
or
yeah.
something.
Well, at the bottom of a tree, a lot of times there's a little crack in the bottom of the tree where a squirrel runs in.
Well,
This
sure.
tree had that, but that little crack was 6 feet tall and a little narrow, so you kind of had to work your way through. But then there's a spiral staircase inside of it, and the guy had a bat collection. So as you walk up the stairs, you trip the sensors, and these little lights would come on, and there would be bats, you know, 10 inches from your face as you're walking up the staircase.
That's so cool. I just think
Yeah.
that's so.
That
Did the
sounds so
motion
cool.
sensors? The motion sensors turned on lights that
Yeah.
then lit up the bat.
Yep.
Okay.
Little tiny LEDs, little tiny pin dot LED lights.
Wow. Yeah, that's
That
super
is,
cool.
oh my gosh, yeah, I'm sure just like it's endless possibilities. I would never even think of that until you said something, but man, you could do anything, huh? Like anything that a client imagines or you imagine, it's probably limitless.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I guess
Um,
that makes me wonder, like, has there been anything that somebody's requested that you haven't been able to accomplish? Like, is there
yeah.
really?
Yeah. Years ago, it was for a promotional piece and some ranch, and they had a black buck mounted that was running, and this company did, if I remember right, they did netting where they shoot the special gun. It has four big weights on it and it has a big net in the middle,
Okay.
and they shoot
Oh,
it at an
yeah.
animal, and it hits the animal and tangles them up so that then they can go down and collect it. They wanted that net suspended in midair. And I'm like,
Like how?
how?
Yeah. You're not a magician, you're just a
Yeah.
artist.
So that
You're
was like, yeah. So we didn't do that.
So I had another question though. So, uh, I guess just to like recap, you when people contact you to have a trophy room done, a showroom done, I guess what do you call it? And then also like, well, you don't do the taxidermy work, correct? Like you are just in charge of
Right.
setting up the setup, the habitat, the rock mountains, the logistics. You do all that, but then the taxidermy work obviously is done by other people, right? So like when somebody contacts you, that's not part of it.
So the trophy rooms are called on the hunting end. If the customer is a hunter, it's a trophy room.
Okay.
If the customer is a museum, then it's a museum room or
Okay.
diorama. Same thing. It's just what setting it's going to be in.
Okay.
So, and as far as that, what was the rest of your?
Oh, sorry. I was kind of
What was
worried
your
about
third
that. I was
one?
trying to work it through my mind as I was saying it. But the question was like, so when somebody contacts you to get a room done,
Yeah.
you're just doing the building and the logistics. And if like for example, somebody wants taxidermy work done too, they're like, "Hey, I want you to do everything." Would you find, the taxidermist to do like the work for it, or would you? Because you're obviously a taxidermist as well. Would you do the work, or would you have somebody else do that work?
No, I actually don't do the taxidermy anymore. I haven't done a taxidermy for a customer. I'll put it that way. I haven't done taxidermy for a customer or client in years,
Okay.
years. But we recently, it was 2 years ago, might have been 2 years ago, we did a job where the guy had shot 26 plains game, African plains game, and he wanted his plains game, well, I guess not all of them, because he had two crocodiles in there, so whatever. But he had 26 pieces, and we've all watched National Geographic and where the animals are running across the Serengeti and they come to the river and then pretty soon finally they slide down the river and go across and the crocodiles are eating them and he wanted that.
Oh,
Okay.
So we got a list of all the mounts, all the species that he was dealing with. I call the supply company. I order everything, no rod. When that comes in, we chop them all up in little pieces and we'll put iron in them, brace them, fly them, base one off of another one, do whatever we have to do to make the scene, the whole scenery. Everything, all the forms get written on, they're all screwed together. Um, all the instructions are on the form of how we want it, how we want the eyes to roll, how I want the head to look, what kind of, and I'll give them exact right between the eyes on the top of the forehead. I want this 22 degrees downhill angle with a 13-degree left turn. And if I have to teach them how to use a compass and a protractor, I will.
Okay.
That's what I want. And then we mark a level on the animal, usually on their rear end. This is level, side and across end. So when they set it up on their mounting stand, all they got to do is throw a level on that line, and they know it doesn't matter what they think. That's the way the animal's going to be positioned. They don't have to see. All they have to do is mount it because they're not going to be able to see until the tail end. And sometimes the clients have their own taxidermist that they deal with. If the taxidermist or the client says, I don't have a taxidermist that I deal with on a regular basis, I know guys that can do this, do it in their sleep. So I tell them, okay, I'll get this all set up. I'll call my guy and I'll talk to him. When he's all on board, I hand the phone to the customer and I say, it's between the two of you, I'm out of it. And that's the way I do it. And and we actually get quite a bit of our work comes in from taxidermists. They call us up and say, I got a big client. Can you build one of these rooms and what do you do with the taxidermy? And I said, I don't do taxidermy. That's your job. And it works great because I'm not getting, inching in on I'm not inching in on anything they got going on with their client. Doesn't matter to me what they mount for them. You
okay.
know, I'm just building the mountain and putting it together.
Okay. Well, that was kind of nice insight, though. So, like, you can get the forms and you can put them in a scene. That way,
Hmm.
it's not like you got to worry about the taxidermist mounting them correctly for that pose. And yeah,
Right.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I guess it sounds like everything's just so custom anyway. So if anybody has any questions, they contact you, and then you're like, I can handle that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Great. Great. So that concludes pretty much all of our questions. Would you like to give us a little tour of the museum that you're in?
Yeah.
Sure. Here's the entrance to the room.
Okay.
When you open the door,
Oh, wow. You got all sorts of stuff in there.
oh, sorry.
He saw both of us. Oh yeah, that's super pretty.
So I think that's the mountain.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff on that mountain.
Wow.
And you've got a western scene.
And the
Oh, I like
mural.
the windmill. You got it like partially painted, partially real.
The windmill?
Yeah, isn't that? It looks like it's real and painted.
No, it's just a bad camera.
Oh,
Here. Oh, I got to get the deer because we're dealing with deer people.
Oh yeah, Texas. looks like.
Yeah. So this is
Ooh, that one's
all,
cool.
this entire room and collection and everything in this place was provided for by one person.
Oh.
He shot it all. This used to be in his personal office at business, and he's getting up in years. He had issues. He created a foundation, funded it, put everything in the foundation, um, got the building ordered. Everything's ready to roll. We're going to break ground in the spring, and he passed away.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
He
that's a
never
bummer.
even got to see the ground broke. But this is all of his personal collection. And these came off of his personal ranch in Texas,
Oh, wow.
including, I don't know if you can see that.
The
Yeah,
longhorn?
look at that back there.
Can you see him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was the mascot on the ranch.
Okay.
The guys were working up by the barn one day, working on some equipment. That cow walked up, stood there, and tipped over and died. Died of old age. So he
Huh.
mounted him.
Huh. What are the odds that it didn't just go wander off and die,
Oh,
somewhere they
yeah.
never would have found it?
Yeah. So then we've got, I got to get a picture on this before I get too close to it.
Oh, that's
Oh,
neat.
it's rattling. Oh my
That kind of
gosh.
gives me goosebumps. Just like, how many people does that scare,
Yeah.
first of all?
I told them they're going to have to put a wet wipe dispenser right there.
Yeah.
And I'm not a snake person, and there's 9 snakes in this room.
Do they
And
all
I
make noises?
no, thank gosh.
Good question. That's super
And
cool.
I'm not a big snake guy, so in every one of these things, and I know they're mounted, and I
It
still
still
walk up
gets you.
behind them and grab them by the back of the head. I have a black mamba over in the other side over there.
Oh,
Ooh,
wow.
cool.
So yeah, there's another snake down there.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little freaky. That kind of makes you like your instinctive.
Yes.
Yeah, we set it up with a motion detector so it would trip when you get too close to it.
Wow. And then we're getting up into the mountains. I like the transition. That's neat.
So when we when we designed our murals out, that's actually, I don't know if can you see the mural back there?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's actually the Grand Tetons,
Okay, I was gonna guess the Tetons.
Yeah. So
and
cool.
that mural is actually a shot taken right off the guy's ranch.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, I love the
And I don't know if you can
sentimental
see
value
this.
on it.
I'll show you something here. So my fence post, where's that?
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right there, fence post, barbed wire, the deer jumping over it. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the fence post keeps going all the way back into those trees behind the barn.
Oh, yeah, I think I can see it.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. So we had all that put in that way. And we got
Got Africa? Is that what we're looking at?
pronghorns.
Oh, the
Oh, oh, okay.
badger.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you're
see
looking
now.
behind it, huh?
I saw the butt, and I didn't know if it's some African animal or not. Oh, yeah.
Badger. So then you've
So,
got.
and this
Oh,
is one of the things that's really
javelina.
neat because the javelina with the 3 babies was on a little piece of plywood that was only 3 feet by 3 feet with that snake.
So point it downwards. We saw the backs of the javelinas.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Okay. So
Oh,
there.
yeah,
Oh,
little babies.
yep. There's the babies. Yep.
And that little squirter right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 2 others down there, plus that rattlesnake right there.
Oh, yep. I see it.
It was on a small piece of plywood. And that's the beauty of being able to redo these mounts is that we rip the bases off of everything. And then we can spread them out and do what we want with them.
Oh, yeah.
They're not confined to such a small area anymore.
Yeah.
So, and this was the elk that the guy had to come over here and rub the antlers and
Oh.
touchy feely. It is a nice elk.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
I don't blame him, I guess, but.
Yeah.
Wow, so then you got the mountain going on.
Yep. So there's a couple of collections of sheep here. And we even got. So when you're doing a trophy room, when you're doing a trophy room, always figure in these little things because they just make it more, realistic. Got a rock slide.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah,
now, are
there's
those little pieces of rock actual rock, or is it foam too?
Good question.
no, that's all foam and painted
Okay.
and placed and glued down.
Yeah, I just wondered. I know some people put some real rock into stuff like that, but I wasn't sure. That's a lot
Yeah,
of rocks to shape.
Yeah.
yeah,
And paint and oh
Yeah.
man.
yeah. Well, you know, we do it like that. It's just easier for us to the system that I have worked out and the way I do stuff. It's just it's easier for me to do it that way than it is to put real stone in.
Hmm.
In fact, talking about dirt, this is in all the years that I've done this. This is the first trophy room slash any wildlife scene that I've ever done with real dirt.
Oh.
I never use real dirt. We always make our dirt.
Huh. Okay.
So this is unique here in that a lot of people come in, especially here where we're at, Michigan. Oh, why would anybody mount such a little dinky whitetail?
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize that it's a Mexican coos deer.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
So it's nice to be able to, show stuff like that off. Oh, there's more than just whitetails? Yeah. Oh, you want another one to look up?
Yes.
Write this down, Heather.
Okay.
Mouse deer.
A mouse deer.
Mouse deer.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, and remember I was telling you about there's an animal in here that I took off a flat base and made it
Yes. Yeah. 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 Which one was that?
right there. That
The
an aoudad?
the old dad going downhill.
Yeah, that was on a flat base sitting on the floor.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, maybe you can see it better this way.
Huh.
Yeah, it's more downhill
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. It looks natural.
Yeah,
Doesn't.
but it's just a straight mount,
Wow, how tall are your ceilings? Like looking at that part.
20, 28 feet.
28.
And that guy's
28.
house was 41 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Holy
So over here,
smokes.
we had the bathroom,
Okay.
and
Nice
there's
little.
the light.
Oh, that's cool.
So we turned it into a trapper shack
Yeah, even
Yeah.
that looks cool. Jeez.
with an old rusty tin roof, and then we got mountain goats up on top.
Wow.
Hmm.
And this wall right here I got paintings all over it.
Yeah, yeah, I see that.
So that's actually a access door to the garage. There's a 32 by, I think it's a 24 by 32 garage under this mountain.
Under the
Oh.
mountain.
That stores the fire suppression system and some of the maintenance equipment.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Looks like a
And
secret
that's
door.
one of the things. Yeah, and that's one of the things they wanted was they said they wanted the stuff drawn all over it. So
Oh, the
little kids and finger
murals.
paints. See, does this look better if I get back farther so you can see it?
Yeah,
There you
that
go.
works.
Yeah. Wow, that mural is so pretty. Do y'all paint? I mean, obviously you paint your own murals, but do you personally do that? Or like, do you have someone that does that?
No, it's a combination. I know what I want, but I don't paint it. But I spent a couple weeks in here with crayon, chalk, a piece of chalk, and chalk sketched everything in.
Wow.
And then I have my muralist come in behind me. We talk about scenes and how we want to do things, and then
Mm.
he paints everything in over my chalk drawings.
Wow, those are so pretty. They really help make
So
the
the
scene really come to
neat thing
life.
about a good mural should look good 10 feet away. And the closer you get, the worse it looks.
Okay, that makes sense. Because if
Yep.
it's too
They look
detailed, it would look weird.
right.
Okay.
So it looks really cool and detailed right there, but if I got real close to it, it looked like some 2-year-old kid did it with finger paints.
Hmm.
Really, I wouldn't expect that to be the case, but that makes sense.
Yep.
Oh, did we lose
Blacked
you?
out. There you
Oh,
are.
okay.
So, and then there's the Spanish stuff.
Oh, we're
And
getting
it's
into
mountain.
Spain.
Yep.
Oh, snow leopard.
Oh, I was just saying, what is that I see? The spots looked really crazy.
What do you think of that?
That's pretty.
Cool.
He's so pretty.
And he had that. He hunted that. How did he get a snow leopard?
No, it's a recreation.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Okay. I was gonna
Yeah, the
say.
whole thing's a recreation,
That's
but it's a pretty
cool.
good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does look good. Oh, and you got, what's that, a bongo or something? No.
I
Hell, I
see
don't
a
know.
yeah. That's a think a bongo.
Bongo,
Is it
Yep.
okay?
a yellowback diker,
Okay. They got an ugly head on them.
and a gaboon
Oh,
viper.
another snake.
Oh, I like gaboons. Those are cool. Deadly,
Yeah,
but cool.
you can keep liking them. I still grab him by the back of the head. The blue diker.
Okay,
Cute.
little guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a
Now,
mouse deer?
how do you keep all of those leaves? How do you clean those?
Good question.
Or is that top secret information we can't know?
Yes.
No, that's great question. So to clean everything that we do, you just take the where's that? Yeah, you just take a wet rag and you can go through and just wipe them all down.
Oh, geez, that's time consuming.
Yeah.
Oh, I imagine.
Hmm.
And well, how often do you go through and
Or
clean that?
I suggest once a year, but really for the first year, you have, and this is going to be a public setting, so there's a lot of people coming through.
Mm.
So it depends on how well they keep the floors in here mopped and cleaned. Will kind of determine how much dust gets floating through the air. And we have test strips. We test strip different areas in the room, and if they come back clean, we tell them, hey, call us next year.
Wow.
And if they come back dirty, then okay, time to clean.
That's smart.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Well, look
Oh,
at
you
this
get a
stuff.
seal. Is that a real
Yeah,
polar bear?
that is a real one. Yeah.
Look at that.
So this scene here, we even did. So, what you want to do back here? Where's my arm? There you go. So you want the ice flows, all the ice flows in the open water, and then you bring that right into the scene with ice flows and open water.
Oh, is
That's
that
awesome.
flowing water or is that still water?
That's no, that's just ice water.
Okay.
Just flow. It's still here.
Yeah, get it
Here's the
closer.
water,
Okay. Neat.
and the reason why that is in this way is because when you clean this, that's the only place where you can walk. You have to walk on the water
Oh, you can't.
Oh,
because that's the hard part. You don't walk on the soft part.
Wow, yeah, you not only are you constructing these habitats, for whatever reasons, aesthetic reasons, you need to actually think of pathways and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. How do I get in and out?
Yeah.
This is one
Accessibility.
of my favorite scenes in this room. It's very
wow.
dramatic. The
Ooh.
background in this just blew me away.
Yeah, it's very uh like the expression on the lion, and then like it's just all very dark and
Yep,
gloomy and
Yeah, gloomy.
yep.
Wow, that's kind of
Isn't
powerful.
that? And this was an old lion. That's his actual skull.
oh, cool.
You see it in there. And if you see it real close, you can tell he doesn't have hardly any canine teeth at all.
Yeah, it looks. I'm trying to see which way I'm really looking at it, but it looked like his teeth were a bit
Yeah,
ragged.
yeah, pretty bad. And then here's our,
Ooh, a rhino.
yeah.
What kind of rhino is that? Is it a
So this is a white rhino.
okay?
And do you know how to tell a white and a black rhino
It's
difference?
their mouth, isn't it?
Part of it. First of all, a black rhino is half this size. A white
Okay.
rhino is roughly 6,600 pounds. Black rhinos run between 36 and 3,800 pounds. And this spot right here on a rhino, white rhinos are flat. Black rhinos
Mm,
have a partial prehensile upper lip. They
okay.
can actually take their upper lip and grab things with it when they're eating.
Okay, I've seen that, so that makes sense now.
I heard
Yep.
I heard white rhinos. It actually is like it's made to say like wide, like their mouth is wider. Is there truth to
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Yep. Quite wide. Yep. Yep. Where the black rhinos are more pointed.
Yeah.
And then there's a dick.
Cute. Look at that.
Yeah.
Little.
So little.
My wife likes him because dicks don't have a nose.
They don't have a nose.
Did you know that? Here's a trivia question for
Oh
you.
yeah. What?
Do Do they
Okay,
have
so
just like the holes?
that's a steenbuck.
Yeah.
He has a nose like a white-tailed deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess I've never must have
There's,
never mounted a dick.
there's a dick.
Move it over a little bit to the side, other way.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he's got no nose pad. It's just like the two holes.
Hang on here. There.
oh yeah, look at that. It's like an I guess I've never really focused on one up close either.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they can twitch it around like a moose.
It almost looks
They,
like
they can make their nose goes in every direction.
kind of looks like what are those things called? They're like saigas or
Yeah, the Saiga
Yeah,
antelope.
like an
yeah.
antelope.
They
Yeah.
kind of have a nose like that.
Yep, they have a snout.
Snout.
So that's a nice
That's
nice
cool.
piece. We come around Lion Mountain here.
He shot a lot of lions. Jeez.
Yeah, he was big on lions. And Cape Buffalo. I got 4 Cape Buffalo in here.
Wow. Yeah.
Guess what a Cape Buffalo weighs?
Um,
They weigh the same after they're mounted as they do before they're mounted. Oh my gosh.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, they're big.
I like how it's laying down. I've never seen one do that. That's an interesting
Yep.
pose.
I think that's it.
That'd be a pain in the butt to mount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of tucking.
Yeah, it's a lot
A lot of
skin.
tucking. Yeah, especially like this area here. I mean, look at the leg and your skin and your leg and everything is.
Yeah, all up in
It's
there.
a lot of work.
Oh
A lot of
yeah.
times you cut. It's kind of like when you cut a lip slot
Mm-hmm.
and tuck lips.
Yeah.
You do the same thing with. You can do the same thing with all these hard to get to points on these animals. You just tuck. You cut a slot and you tuck it.
Yep. Yeah, that's what we have done on many things.
Yeah.
Wow, look at all
So
those.
that's a cool spot in the room. You got another leopard up here in this tree somewhere. There he is. Checking you
Oh,
out.
yep, I see him.
Oh, here's a nice little trivia one for you. How about where's he at?
Oh, at the Giranook.
Yeah.
They are ugly.
Somewhere. Oh, there he is. Yeah, looking right at him.
Ugly looking things. Like, how did they even come to be like that?
How did you pronounce that? It's like an antelope with a long neck. It's
Yeah, it's a gurnuk.
Gurnuk, okay.
Yep.
They are funny.
So it's about the bodies. If the body size is a lot smaller than like an impala, but a full-grown gurnuk, what they do is they'll stand on their hind legs. They stand on the hind legs, upright like a man, like a person, and they'll stretch all the way out, and they eat the bottom of acacia trees.
I've seen that before, and they are just.
Giraffes eat the top of the acacia tree. That's why the acacia trees have a section in the middle that doesn't get much action.
Oh, so they.
And also too, interesting enough, you will always find giraffes, gurnuks, and whatever else eats acacia. They always start downwind and they work upwind, always. Because acacia trees, once they're attacked, they set off a pheromone. And the pheromone instantly will release a nasty taste into the leaves, and the animals won't eat them.
Huh.
Okay.
It's a self-defense mechanism.
I think I've heard of that. I think. Well, I'm sure other plants do it too. I think sagebrush does it. Like.
Yep. There's a kind of sagebrush that does it. I've heard that too.
Yeah, that's so fascinating that they actually like these animals know to start like downwind and then go upwind.
Yep. How many people got 3 lizards in their place?
That's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Look at
Now
that.
this is an interesting spot because the one up there and the one down here is African crocodile. And that one in the middle is a North American alligator.
Okay, I thought it looked like an alligator, but then I saw the hippo, and I'm like,
Oh, so
maybe
is that one not supposed to be there then?
Well, there's no other place that we could have put it, for one.
Yeah.
Because there's no other water scenes in here.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing was we wanted it here so that we could, because this is a educational museum.
Mm-hmm.
So when people come through, they can see a crocodile and an alligator side by side, because the common question is, how do you tell the difference between a crocodile and an alligator? Well, there they are.
it depends on
Just look
whether
at them.
you see them later or in a while.
Yeah, it's whether you're at the front end of them or at the back end of them.
Later. Did you catch that what Ashley was doing? She was doing the whole see
What
you
a
later
joke.
alligator or see in a
Oh, there
while
you go.
crocodile.
The difference between alligator and crocodile depends on if you see them later or in a while.
Yeah,
Anyway, sorry.
That's all right. Trust me, he was setting
that
me
was
up for
wonderful. I
so
like
many.
they.
You were setting me up
She
for
gets.
so many jokes with that white rhino, black rhino thing, and I had to really control
Oh.
myself.
Hey, I give her 10 points for that one. That was a good one.
Oh, funny.
All
Okay,
right.
what do we
Oh, we
got?
got
Oh,
a.
ostrich. Look at that.
I see an ostrich nest, I think.
Oh, you're walking on the scene right
Yeah.
now, right? So you can walk on that portion.
Oh yeah. So there's Mount Kilimanjaro.
Oh, that's
You
cool.
got your ostrich.
I like the elephants in the mural back there.
Oh, you even got no baby.
Babies.
That baby is a artificial.
Wow,
Oh.
It's a reconstruction or whatever you call it.
Huh.
that's really
Reproduction.
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have elephants in the
I
mural.
like the elephants. Those are neat.
hmm So the elephants in the mural are there for a specific purpose. I'll show you here in a second. Here's the last part of the scene. Now my wife, here's one of the artistic things, artistic versus design versus bullheaded, that I'll show you. My wife, well, I got this scene done, and my wife comes in and she says, that would look good with the leopard up there. I said, no, it wouldn't. Because that wall is drywall. There's no wood behind it. It's drywall on metal studs.
Oh man.
So it doesn't hold anything. I says, no, that it wouldn't look good up there. She goes, yeah, it would. Put it up there. I was like, no, it won't. We fought about it for 2 days. Finally, I came in one morning with a Sawzall, and I cut this whole thing out because I had to put the framework in underneath to hold that tree up from the ground because there's no way to attach it to a wall.
Ah.
And then I had to put it all back together.
So she won.
Yep.
She won, yeah.
Well, I like
But
it. I think.
I made her go for 2 days. She had to harp on me for 2 days to get it. But it does look good. It really looks good.
Well, good. I like it. I like the
So,
stubbornness that that story
oh yeah.
has as well.
Well, she's right most of the time. It just takes me 2 or 3 days to get into it.
And oh, you got sables. Look at that.
Is that a
There's
pile?
one of the
That's
African muddy ponds.
Are those stones or is that supposed to be a pile of poop?
What's that?
You like zoomed in. It looked like I didn't know if there were stones by the pond up
Right here?
close.
These are stones.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Oh,
if you got super real into it.
Yeah, must have got you too close.
Yeah.
Trying to look into the screen.
Oh, and is that the mamba?
Oh.
Yeah.
Or what is that? Oh yeah, it's that black mamba. Cool.
Yeah, they kind of look like a blue racer to me.
Yeah, they're like silver.
But
But isn't the
yeah,
black
well,
the inside of their mouth or something? Isn't that right?
something I don't know. All I know is that they creep me out, and every time I grab him, I do it from the back.
Yeah, that's. ah,
So
very
one of
neat.
the things that you were talking about earlier was what was in my mind to do things,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them is like subspecies of animals. And so, like this animal, gemsbuck.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people know what a gemsbuck is. You probably mounted some yourself if you have, African clientele. But do you know what this one is?
Uh.
Oh yeah, that is
Oh.
is that a roan?
Nope.
No. I saw the fluffy ears, so I thought it was a roan.
Right. You saw the fluffy ears. This is a fringe-eared oryx.
Fringe-eared oryx.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. But it's in the gemsbuck family,
Oh yeah.
Okay.
along with the scimitar horned oryx,
Right.
which is
Oh.
brown and tan and white with the big curled back,
I've heard that
horns.
name.
Yeah. So okay, I've never seen the fuzzy one though. That's a new one for me.
hmm
And oh, your elephant. Wow, look at that. So is this a real
Yeah, he was fun
elephant?
to get in here.
Is this a
Huh?
reproduction or is this a real
No,
elephant?
that's the real deal. He's a
Wow,
skin mount.
that's
And then
incredible.
when people come in, right about there, that's the view that we set up
Ooh.
to take the pictures, group pictures.
with the
Okay.
So everybody wants their picture with an elephant, and you got Mount Kilimanjaro in the background.
that's
Cool.
neat. I like that a lot.
Then he's got 5 wildebeest, or
Yeah.
four wildebeest,
Oh,
but he's
different
only got
species.
3 blues and 1 black.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the banded wildebeest, the white bearded gnu, or the brindled wildebeest.
He doesn't have a kings either. I don't know if kings were around when he was hunting them. I think they
Yeah.
were kind of a new thing.
And we get into some pretty cool little detail too.
Oh,
When we
what's
do
in
our
the
stuff, we're
tree?
very detail-y.
Oh, yeah.
You see them?
Yeah, what are those?
These little guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
African lovebirds.
Cute.
Oh.
Oh.
We
Ooh.
got baboons up here in the tree right above my head.
Oh, okay.
There's an olive, two commons and 1 olive baboon. And of course the giraffe. Everybody likes the giraffe. I got
Oh
to get
yeah.
back here to get his head. There.
Yeah, they're pretty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then we
No
can
one
switch
thinks a
over here.
giraffe is ugly.
No.
Ooh, back to America. Look at that.
Okay, so I guess that pretty much wraps up everything, Randy. Is there anything that you would like to share with anybody before we end the episode?
Boy, not that I can think of. There's just too many things to bump through your head to cover it all in a few hours.
Right.
Yes.
Randy, if people would like to hire you or check out your work, where can they find that information?
They can go to our website, is www.wildrooms, just like wild rooms, ROOMS, MI, very important, put the MI on there, .com. So wildroomsmi.com.
wildroomsmi.com. Awesome. Thank you so much, Randy, for joining us.
Not even curiosity, don't go to wildrooms.com.
Oh. Oh, no.
Remember that MI.
I'll take your advice.
Remember the MI. You end up in a gentleman's club in Australia.
Oh, no. That is really important. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a good way to remember it, though.
Yeah.
The MI. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and giving us the tour of the showroom and everything. And for
thank
just
you.
sharing all this great information.
And then both of you are going to be at Nationals?
I'll be there.
I won't.
Heather will not. So I should be there as long as everything goes to plan. Are you going to be there, Randy?
I don't think I'll be able to make it. We're building get this. We're building an 1880s to 1890s sod home in a museum.
That's going to be cool.
You're building a what? A sod home?
A soddy, an old-fashioned Western soddy.
Wow,
Yep.
how cool.
Yep, and the whole thing is fake.
That would be super cool.
Just
no dirt and no sod in the sod home.
No sod in the soddy.
No.
So will you be at Worlds at all?
We're going to try to make it. I think I have that time. That's in August?
Yes.
Yes, August, what is it, like 4th through something?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah, I think we'll be home at that point in time.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll see you at Worlds and we'll catch up on maybe how the Saudi went. We would like to thank you for listening to our podcast, Wildverse. We hope you enjoyed learning more about building trophy room scenes and dioramas and all the work that goes into creating those. If you would like to stay up to date on new episode releases, you can follow us on Facebook at Wildverse Taxidermy Podcast and Instagram at Wildverse Podcast.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Wildverse Podcast, to see when new videos come out. Or you can leave us some love on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen by leaving us a review.
Remember to check out those museum scenes maybe a little bit closer and thank people like Randy for putting them together.
Yeah, man, that's a lot of work. Thank you so much, Randy.
Thank you for having me on.
Bye.
Bye.